here is preparing the fabric. This is the fabric that I'm working with. It's a really pretty popular wave pattern, but in a dotted version. It's beautiful. It's red with white. So I always prepare by putting heat and bond on it first, and as you can see, I'm using scraps, trying to use up everything that I can. And once I do the heat and bond, you'll see what the next step is going to be. So just hang with me here on this part. Right now, with this particular fabric, I have the iron set to cotton. Sometimes I do linen. It makes it really hot, but what I have noticed is that there is definitely a sensitivity, depending on the type of fabric it is. You don't want to use too much heat because it actually just creates bubbles in other areas. Usually I can get it out, but I do try to avoid it because it's not always like a good idea to have to try to get it out later. So again, as you can see, I'm using all kinds of little scraps here, and I'm sorry the camera is shaky a little bit. It's just where it's placed for this video. Okay, so that's pretty tight, but this is nice because the little bit of scraps that I do get, I like to kind of wrap some of my orders, you know, put a nice little bow on it with a scrap piece of fabric. So that's the perfect size for that. So I do it on one side, but I also flip it over and really get that adhesive on there from this angle. See all that steam coming out. So at this point, I think we're ready to peel. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much comes off pretty smoothly. It comes off smooth and we're good. Okay. And now from there, this is just some tissue paper. Before I do that part, let's see if you can kind of see. You see that shininess there? That's the adhesive. You can see the difference between this is the original fabric, and you can see the adhesive start right there. So that's the part that we're going to be working with. So this scrap piece of tissue paper is not quite enough, but that's okay. So once we lay that down, we just kind of go over that with the iron and try to make that as smooth as possible. Try to get out any bubbles if we can. I do have another small piece. Okay, got another little piece here that will work perfectly for that edge. From there, we just flip it over again, just like we did when we were putting the adhesive on. Just to run over it one more time. And that's that. You'll notice that there are what appear to be some sort of bubbles in a way, but that is perfectly okay. Once we get the cover glued on, it's gonna kind of organically flatten it out into a nice looking piece of fabric. So what we've just done is we're basically making sure the glue does not go through the fabric when we put it onto the cover. So it's gonna look just like this, just like a piece of fabric on the book. So we only needed a small size journal for this red fabric. I'll do one more with you together. This is another really gorgeous one that I love. Some of them are so pretty, I just hate to even cut into them. This is an ivory with some metallic features here, metallic gold. It's lovely with pink, yellow, blues, greens. Okay, so for this fabric here, this person, they wanted 2 small journals out of this fabric. So I'm just ironing it out, trying to get as much of the creases out as I can before I put on the other materials. Okay, so I'm really going over this as much as I can. Okay. So now, okay, so we got that pretty good. So what I do is I actually try to measure out in advance. It's kind of how I decide how much I need to cut. So this would be a nice way to kind of set them up like this. I could do this. I'm still gonna get 3 covers comfortably that way, but I don't really want to start leaving any hanging space here yet. Can't do this. This is just too tight. So for my brain, just to feel comfortable that I'm using as much of the fabric as I can, I like this version instead. I can even do this, because that way this leaves me another nice starting point for something else in the future. This can either be more smalls in the future like this, or if I did a medium-sized cover with this fabric, that would still be, this would make me feel okay if I had this much left over. So anyway, once I get the layout, I take my clear ruler and I try to use about 1 inch more than what I need here. So I got my point. Be right back, just stepping off camera. Oh, I actually have an extra piece hanging out already. So you know what this is gonna do? Normally, I would just take my measurement. I have a big roll of the heat and bond. I would just literally put my ruler up to that point for the length, cut across. But we have an extra piece, which I love. Like I said, I'm always trying to use any scraps that I can to maximize less waste if possible. It's always the goal. So just cutting out what I need. Got another nice scrap piece here for later. Now I gotta cut off this edge over here. Another nice scrap. Put that aside. Remove my covers. Place it back. Okay, nice and smooth. And start ironing on. Still got the iron at the cotton setting. Okay, so I do go over it as much as I can. Like you see here already how the heat is making it all react. So we want to try to smooth that out if we can. Okay, now I'm gonna flip this over. And again, on this side, just encouraging that adhesive to get onto the fabric here. So back and forth. I think I like to do at least a good kind of 5 times or so. I don't know. I don't really count. Just kind of feel it out. Flip it back over. Actually grabbing a different pair of scissors now. A little bit sharper for fabric cutting. And I just cut right on that outline. Right up against it. Okay, so we have a nice piece of this fabric left for future orders. This is a fabric that I actually would love to frame. Just cut out a nice piece and put it on the wall. It's so pretty. Okay, so again, we got our piece cut out. I'm just gonna roll over it again on this side. Now we should be good to, yeah, see how smooth that comes off. So I've got a scrap piece of tissue paper here that is working pretty close. I got a little spot here I'm gonna have to cover, no problem. Slide over that with some heat. Got some bubbles trying to pop up here. Just try to smooth those out. Gotta be a little patient with it. It's only reacting how it's supposed to. And just gonna peel that off there. Place it in that little corner. Continue. Flip it over. Do another run. I do see some bubbling. That is not bad at all. It's something that I can work with, because sometimes what I'll have to do is once I get the covers on, once the covers are glued on, then I can run the iron over it again and it really flattens it out. So that's how I prepare fabric. I have the fabric. I usually work with cotton linen, and I use heat and bond first to put adhesive on the fabric. Then I top that with tissue paper. Now I can glue, and the glue will not go through, won't ruin the fabric at all. Fabric stays just as beautiful, and it's gonna look great on a journal. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. And again, I'm sorry for the little bit of shakiness. My setup is definitely a little amateur. This is the best way that I could get you kind of right on top of the ironing process. So please don't come at me. But hopefully it wasn't too bad. So yeah, thank you so much. And visit my website, www.artisan.co, and it will be stated in the description below. Okay, next time.